Hello there, lovely people. It's Alex from Nintendo Live here, and today we're reviewing for you Luigi's Mansion 2 HD on the Nintendo Switch. This review was originally written by the superb PJ O'Reilly and has been adapted for video by me. But anyway, that's more than enough waffling. Let's dive right into things. Looking back over our 2013 review of Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon on the 3DS has been a timely reminder of why we love this game so very much, yet have failed to return to it beyond our original playthrough back in the day. An oddity given that we're usually quite partial to hoovering up every last secret there is to find in most games we enjoy. It was the controls, you see. They were fiddly in the first Luigi's Mansion, and in the second game the lack of an extra thumbstick on the 3DS made for an experience that felt marred slightly by the shortcomings of the system on which it was delivered. It wasn't a huge deal, and PJ in particular writes that he was very much in agreement with the 9 out of 10 score that we dished out back then. It was just one of those things with this series. A great idea, smart games, excellent puzzles, and tons of atmosphere, all held back just a little bit. A franchise that felt like it needed unleashing onto a new platform. This issue was then fully addressed with Luigi's Mansion 3, the big fancy Switch follow-up that showed us just how amazing this spooky sub-series could be if it got the right sort of treatment and wasn't held back in the controls department. It's our favorite game of the franchise, an experience that outdoes the scope and scale of the first two games, and the model that Next Level Games has worked towards with this HD revamp of the first sequel. As we've discussed already in our preview for this version, this shiny remaster sticks resolutely to what was found in the original package from a content perspective. There's no deluxe or any such moniker in the title, signaling that a resolution bump and some extra animations are all we're getting. And so it is for the most part. It's gonna be a sticking point for some, but Luigi's Mansion 2 HD is the exact same game that many of you will no doubt have played 11 years ago. God, 11 years. It just looks much nicer. And we really do mean much nicer. Yes, a lot of the work is in the resolution bump. There was always a ton of detail and artistry to ogle in any Luigi's Mansion game. Lighting and environmental effects are improved, animations have been enhanced, cleaned up, and added to. Luigi and his enemies are much more emotive than we recall, and the whole thing feels a lot more readable and effective as these fine details get a chance to shine in both docked and handheld modes. This is a very good looking version of a very good game. And then we come to the real high point, and that's that the controls with the second stick are just so much better. Your mileage will vary with this depending on how irksome you found directing the Poltergust 5000 into specific spots in the original, but for us it removes that one real niggle we had back in the day. This now feels almost on the same level as Luigi's 2019 adventure in how it plays, and it makes for a decade-old game that's not lost the ability to entertain in the slightest. If you haven't played it before, Luigi's Mansion 2 ditches the claustrophobia of the creepier first game in favor of a bigger and brighter adventure that gives the hapless Mario brother several locations to explore rather than just one singular mansion. It's a surprisingly large game, somewhere around the 30-hour mark if you dig in and explore for secrets, and each and every location is designed with a careful cleverness that really does make it feel like a bona fide Nintendo-made product rather than the work of an outside party, which it technically is, a Canadian studio Next Level Games, but they're now owned by Nintendo, so I'll move on. Rumble has been added effectively to the fight sequences on Switch, which feel much better now that wrangling ghosts and aiming is a lot smoother. Motion controls are used for fine-tuning and directing the camera for certain parts, and these touches, along with the refreshed looks, make for a remamp that really does look and feel very modern. The 5 distinct areas that Luigi and company must battle through in order to gather up the pieces of the Dark Moon have lost none of their ability to draw you in, with each new mission balancing just the right amount of gentle combat with puzzles that make full use of your delightful surroundings. This is one of those games that makes rummaging around in bins and drawers feel great. Treasure and hearts and secrets fly out of things in just the right way, in turn locking us into a pursuit of finding every last hidden boo and gem. We never spend much time with Scarescraper, the game's local and online multiplayer mode. We've got to be honest, it's not really our bag, but it also makes the cut cut here for those who enjoy that sort of thing. So, with so many good things to say about it, how come we are, and spoiler alert, we've gone and given it a lower score this time around? Well, because we reckon this HD package is all a little bit too safe and workaday, given the premium price that it's being flogged for. Make no mistake, this is a great game, and it's never played better than it does here, but to leave little niggling legacy issues unaltered, it just doesn't sit quite right given the price point. We really do wonder why there's no rejigged save system. You have to restart a mission from the very beginning if you die, and that's not changed here. Loading times haven't seen the sort of shortening we'd have expected either, so there are no benefits in terms of being able to dip in and out of levels any quicker than the original. We also did notice one moment during an early cutscene where the frame rate stutters a little bit, which is just a little bit surprising. Yeah, it doesn't affect the gameplay at all, but it fits in with the overall vibe of all very good, but a wee push could have made it amazing, you know? Speaking with other folk who've played this one in the past, there's always a little bit of a pushback against how slow these games can make the time between missions feel. Luigi's Mansion 2 suffers from this sort of plodding pace in its menus, and in how often the professor pulls you out of levels instead of just letting you rip a bit longer. It would have been great seeing some of this stuff sidestepped to make it all a bit quicker, we guess? Just, you know, a little bit snappier in how it moves us around the game. However, that's for the deluxe models, not the HD ports of this world, apparently. For the price, it would have been nice to see some of these things remedied, to see more options for saving, pausing progress, or for some new aided modes for players like the sorts that we see in those snazzy deluxe reissues. However, away from these little issues, and away from the fact that they've not made climbing the bloody big staircase in Hollow Tree any easier, what we've got here is a very straightforward, but also a very shiny and nice HD revamp of one of the 3DS's best games. It looks great, it feels better than ever to play, and it does just about enough to warrant revisiting. All of these things are true. Luigi's Mansion 2 HD is Luigi's Mansion 2 with a fancy HD lick of paint. Surprise! It looks great, and the new models, animations, and revamped visuals make for a game that's close to the glorious Luigi's Mansion 3 in how modern and swish it all is. It also controls much nicer thanks to the second stick on the Switch. It's just a shame we haven't got any extras then, any new means to save mid-mission, added content, or bonuses. This is undoubtedly the best way to play this game as of 2024, there's no doubt, but it would have been nice to get something a little extra, especially given the price point. Maybe, just maybe, we'll get a deluxe edition someday. Luigi's Mansion 2 HD, you're getting an 8 out of 10 from us. You've reached the end of the review. That means it's time for Alex's personal thoughts, and yeah, there's too much about this game that irks me, unfortunately. Don't get me wrong, and I want to preface everything that I'm about to say by saying I do like this game. I like it, but I don't love it. The mission-based structure, rather than just allowing you to explore the various mansions, just feels too limiting, and it just doesn't feel like it gels with the idea of Luigi's Mansion as a genre. Is it a genre? You're given a task, you complete the task, and then you're sucked right back out. Even if you're in the middle of exploring, it doesn't matter. Gadd's just like, you're coming back now. He doesn't ask, he just does it, and it's really annoying, actually, because there were several instances when I was playing the game and I was like, oh yeah, you know, I've got to do this, that, you know, whatever, I've got to complete the thing. And I completed it without, as strange as it sounds, without fully realizing it. I was just kind of going through the motions. And then, you know, I want it, I'll go and look at that after I've done this bit, I'd sort of think. And then Gadd would go, oh, you're coming back now. And it's like, no, I wanted to look over that bit. And if I want to do it again, I've got to go right back to the start of the mission or hope that the next mission will allow me to explore that area. It's just annoying. And Elvin, Gadd, shut up, my god. I know that, you know, he pops up in Luigi's Mansion 3 as well, and even in the original, you know, the Game Boy horror and all that, but he will not leave you alone in this game. He is constantly popping up. You know, you'll see something happen, and then he'll call you up and explain what just happened. He's like, I know! I'm the one who's here! I mentioned this in my preview as well, but I'm just not bowled over by the visuals in the same way. You know, it does feel unfair to compare it being a port to something like Luigi's Mansion 3, but it is gonna be compared every time, because it's like, oh, there's only 2 Luigi's Mansion games on the Switch. this is the newest one, why doesn't it look as good? And it doesn't look as good. It is so much brighter than that game. It is so much brighter. Even the dark rooms, I mean, they do feel dark, don't get me wrong, but I don't feel like I need the torch nearly as much. You know, I can see everything. The torch is just making certain areas brighter, but I could still see everything, you know? But despite all that, I can't deny that I had fun with the game. I absolutely did. It's just got too many little issues to actually allow me to completely love it. I just don't. And it kind of sours the whole experience. And lots of little things. Again, I mentioned this in the preview. You can use the right stick, and it's great, but you still have the old controls from the 3DS in this version, and you can't turn them off, so you look up with X, and you interact with everything with X. Why? We've got the right stick. We don't need the legacy controls, or if you want to include the legacy controls, make them an option. Don't make them on as well as the new controls. Oh, it just baffles me. I don't want to be as harsh as I'm sounding, but I just have to be honest about this stuff, and this stuff gets in the way of my enjoyment, and that's a real shame. If you're listening to my complaints and none of that concerns you in the slightest, then more power to you. Love this game and enjoy it for all it's worth. But for me, it's quite easily become my least favorite of the three.